recognize this. Where did you find that?
That's not an answer. Who is he?
Matt knew his marriage was in trouble the moment he found the single diamond earring under the bed. It wasn't his wife Laura's. For months she had been distant, a stranger in their own home. Whenever he asked, the answer was always the same. Work is just so busy, but it was more than that. Their daughters, innocent and perceptive, felt the shift too. The warmth in their home had been replaced by a chilling silence. Matt tried to push the nagging doubts away, telling himself he was overthinking things, but the image of that earring was burned into his mind. He confided in his neighbor, Rick, who listened patiently. Rick, ever the pragmatist, suggested there might be more to Laura's distance than just work stress. His words planted a seed of dread in Matt's heart. Driven by a desperate need for the truth, Matt installed security cameras in-house. He told Lavra they were for security, a simple precaution. Her reaction, or rather her lack of one, was the most alarming sign yet. She barely glanced at them, her indifference a louder alarm than any argument could have been. That's when he knew he couldn't ignore it any longer. He picked up the phone and called a private investigator named Jami. The days waiting for news were agonizing. When Jami finally called back, the confirmation was like a physical blow. Lavra was having an affair. The man's name was Scott. The affair had been going on for months. A secret life Lavra had been living right under his nose. The news shattered him. His world, once so stable, crumbled around him. He looked at his daughters, their bright, trusting faces, and found his resolve. He had to be strong for them. A few days later, standing on the sidelines of his daughter's soccer practice, he saw him, Scott. He was there, smiling, acting like he belonged. Matt's blood ran cold. He walked over, his heart pounding, and introduced himself. Scott was friendly, but his eyes darted around nervously. The audacity of this man, intruding on his family's life, filled Matt with a quiet rage. It was a violation, a betrayal that cut deeper than he could have imagined. The cameras, once a source of anxiety, now became his reluctant ally. One evening, as he scrolled through the day's recordings, his worst fears materialized on the screen. There was Lavra in their kitchen, kissing Scott. The casual intimacy of the act, in the heart of their family home, was devastating. He watched the footage over and over, each viewing a fresh wave of heartbreak. He knew then that his life and his daughters' lives had to change. He could no longer pretend. Just as he was grappling with what to do next, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Chloe, one of Laura's closest friends. What she told him next was a bombshell. Lavra hadn't just been cheating. She'd been bragging about it. Chloe, disgusted by Laura's behavior, forwarded him screenshots of texts and even exposed a series of secret money transfers. Lavra was siphoning funds from their joint accounts, planning to take half of everything and leave. The cold, calculated nature of her betrayal was staggering. Matt didn't waste a second. He called a lawyer. The lawyer was direct and clear: gather all the evidence you can, so Matt did. He saved the camera footage, the text messages from Chloe, and the financial statements. His first move was to freeze their joint bank accounts. The reaction was immediate. Laura's phone call was a tempest of fury. She screamed, she accused, she demanded. But Matt remained calm. When she finally came home, he confronted her, not with anger, but with a quiet, unshakable resolve. He asked her about the affair. She admitted it, not with remorse, but with a chilling sense of entitlement. I deserve to be happy, she said, as if her happiness justified destroying their family. That's when Matt turned the monitor around and played the footage of her and Scott in their kitchen. The color drained from her face. Her defiance crumbled, replaced by a flustered attempt to defend the indefensible. The truth was out, and it was ugly. Word travels fast in a quiet neighborhood. Soon the whispers turned into open support for Matt. Neighbors who once waved politely to Lavra now turned away. She became a pariah, isolated by her own actions, while Matt found himself surrounded by unexpected kindness. Meanwhile, Jami, the pie, kept digging. He uncovered Scott's unsavory past, a mountain of debt, a history of cheating on previous partners, and a documented aggressive streak. Matt decided to confront Scott directly. He found him at the local gym, preening in front of a mirror. Matt approached him calmly, his voice low. He didn't raise his voice or make a scene. He simply laid out the facts he knew about Scott's debts and his history. Scott's arrogant smirk vanished, replaced by a deep, blotchy blush. He stammered, unable to meet Matt's gaze. The confrontation, witnessed by others at the gym, left Scott utterly humiliated. Later, the cameras caught the fallout. A furious argument erupted between Lavra and Scott in their driveway. Their perfect affair was beginning to fray under the pressure of exposure. But instead of seeing reason, Lavra made a reckless, desperate move. Matt came home to an empty house and a cold, brief note on the counter. She had taken the children. He immediately called Rick, his voice shaking. Rick's words were stark. "Matt, this is borderline kidnapping," he called his lawyer, who immediately began preparing an emergency custody motion. Consumed with terror, Matt called his daughter's phone. They answered, their voices small and scared. They told him that Scott had been shouting at their mom, that he was scary. Matt's heart broke. He told them to lock themselves in their room and promised he was coming for them. He saved the recording of that call, another piece of crucial evidence. In court, Laura's lawyer tried to paint Matt as unstable and obsessive, claiming the cameras were a form of harassment. But Matt's lawyer was ready. He methodically presented the evidence. The photos of the affair, the financial records of the secret transfers, the damning video footage of Lavra and Scott, and finally, the footage of Lavra knowingly taking the children from their home after a judge's order was imminent. The judge's expression grew more and more disturbed. The ruling was swift and decisive. The judge ordered the immediate return of the children to Matt, granting him primary custody. Lavra was granted only supervised visitation. She broke down, crying in disbelief, as if she couldn't comprehend the consequences of her own actions. Matt walked out of the courtroom, a profound sense of relief washing over him. A few days later, he saw Scott hastily packing his car. He didn't even look in Matt's direction, desperate to avoid any confrontation. He was gone as quickly as he had appeared. When Matt went to pick up his daughters, the reunion was emotional. They ran into his arms, clinging to him. Lavra stood in the doorway, begging for forgiveness, tears streaming down her face. Matt looked at her and said calmly, "You're not sorry you did it. You're just sorry you got caught." He took his girl's hands and they walked away without looking back. Lavra just watched, a silent, lonely figure as they drove away. That night, they ordered pizza and watched a movie, cuddled together on the couch. The laughter and warmth returned to the house. His daughters told him how relieved they were that Scott was gone. Matt held them close and promised them that while some things had changed, his love for them never would. They were safe now. Months later, the divorce was finalized. Lavra moved to another state, a distant memory. Matt and his girls, together, began to rebuild their life, finding their peace, one day at a time. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing for more stories.